the shame, man. When the innocent are taken to the pavement, won't somebody just tell them? Won't somebody, oh, won't somebody, oh, 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 oh. Won't you please look after my children? Not a words from the mouth of the women. Some are getting all the wood to get the fire lit. Some are picking up the pieces of the last days. Won't somebody, oh, 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 oh. So we're calling all the pros, they're coming up slow. It's gonna be a showdown. Said the rebel to the revolutionary, come with me. And if you feel like you are witnessing a movement, then get up, girl, and let them know you're free. From the land of the shame, man, where the world is looking up, you know it's changing. Won't somebody just tell them? Won't somebody, oh, won't somebody, oh, 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 oh. So we're calling all the crows, they're coming up slow. It's gonna be a showdown. Say the rebel to the revolutionary, come with me. And if you feel like you are witnessing free. Say the rebel to the rebel, if you come with me. I'm tired of living in the fable. The sky I long to see. The journey must continue, it does not start or end here. No, 'cause the river.
Hello everybody and welcome to the College Football Tonight here on Herb FM Radio. We're just getting set for our weekly radio. We're back after last week's Bodacle down there in the mountains of Virginia. We were down there last week for the New Hampshire JMU football game. Tonight we'll have Jim Fleming on the show with us, the head coach of the Rhode Island Rams. They take on JMU this week. Then Michael McAllister from Cuse will be on at 6:45. Then Pete Cronan, the voice of, the radio analyst for Boston College, will be on at 7:05. So we're getting ready for, and then we'll have Sean McDonnell, the head coach of the New Hampshire Wildcats, at 7:20. Around 7:30, we'll have Bob Black, the voice of the Richmond Spiders football, around 7:30. Jerry Ratcliffe, the great writer from Daily Progress, at 7:45. And then this afternoon I talked to NC State Wolfpack defensive end Deontay Holden, who is from Landover, Maryland. We'll be on at 8:10. And then at 8:20 will be Andrew Jones from the Tar Heel Illustrated. And then wrapping up the show at 8:30 will be William Beneskick from the South Carolina Radio Network. We'll also hear from Matt Trichinelli and Ewan McCreef as well. So we'll have a full show of everything here. We're just waiting for the coach to give us a call, so let's get back to some great music here, on the College Football Tonight, waiting for Coach Fleming to give us a call.
But with all of us, we can reach from side to side, and it is here that we must hold so dear. Calling all the crows, they're coming up slow. It's gonna be a showdown. Said the rebel to the revolutionary, come with me. And if you feel like you are witnessing a movement, then get a girl and let them know you're free. It's just a murder code, coming up slow. It's gonna be a showdown. Said the rebel to the revolutionary, follow me. And if you feel like you are witnessing a movement, then get a girl and let them know you're free. Got to get a girl and let them know you're free. Got to get a girl, and girl, let them know you're free.
rock and roll. Beer can't be bought, wine can't be sold. 1,000 lies are getting told. Times are tough in rock and roll. I keep on walking my country mile. I got my head up all the while. Some would like to cramp my style. I keep on walking my country mile. Reason is to feel this way. Rolling Stone has seen its day. All my feelings, all my fears were confirmed with Britney Spears. Me and the boys are in the band. We're out seeing this great land. We're not in the hit parade. Ain't nobody getting paid. Times are tough in rock and roll. Times are tough in rock and roll. I keep on walking my country mile. I got my head up all the while. Some would like to cramp my style. I keep on walking my country mile. Times are tough in rock and roll. Beer can't be bought, wine can't be sold. There's 1,000 lies getting told. Times are tough in rock and roll.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to College Football Tonight. We'll wait for Jim Fleming to give us a call, but I guess he'll call us at the end of the show. But right now, we have Michael McAllister from Cuse Nation on the show with us to talk about a big game this week for the Orangemen. They're going down to Tallahassee to play a limping Florida State squad. It's 2-5 on the year. So, Michael, thanks for joining us. This game this week, coming off a bye week for you guys after losing a tough one to Miami. Now you got the Seminoles, who are basically not the Seminoles of old, but they're dealing with a lot of injuries, and this might be an opportunity for Syracuse to get a win.
Yeah, isn't it funny that when Syracuse got into the ACC, the discussion about the football program was how are they ever going to compete with Clemson and Florida State, and now you're in a situation where if because of the injuries and how down Florida State is this year compared to what they traditionally are, Syracuse could beat both of them in the same year. And you know, the Clemson win was such a huge win for the program and for Dino Babers and what they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. They respond by playing a competitive football game at Miami where they feel like if they don't make some mistakes, they could have won that game, maybe should have won that game. Now you go down to Florida State, and again, you're in a key recruiting area in Florida. You're against a team that's down. It's got a freshman quarterback. It's turnover prone. Is erratic with his accuracy. And you've got a Syracuse team that's very confident in themselves, that's confident in the game plan, and feels like they can go in and win that game. And if they do, that would put them just one win away from bowl eligibility, which would be a giant step forward for this program.
Yeah, you just mentioned in the beginning, they'll be the first team since North Carolina in 2010 to beat basically Florida State and Clemson in the same season if they could pull it off Saturday. That's pretty good feat there.
Yeah, it's huge, and NC State's going to have the opportunity to do that as well. Later this year when they play Clemson, that'll probably decide who comes out of the Atlantic in terms of going to the ACC title game. But that's something that, regardless of whether or not Florida State is down, and they clearly are, they're still a name brand, and it's still a win that will cause people to say, oh, and take a closer look at Syracuse, especially on the recruiting front. That gives Dino Babers and that coaching staff the ability to go into living rooms and say, look at the steps we're taking forward. We beat the number 2 team in the country, a team that, most people at that point thought was perhaps the best team in college football, even better than what Alabama is and was. And then we, backed that up by going and beating Florida State at their place, even though it's a down year.
Right.
That's still something you can talk to recruits about, and that's definitely a sign that things are headed in the right direction.
Well, you're taking on a Florida State squad to basically last Friday. They basically, it looked like on television they gave up. Against Boston College. But talking to Jimbo Fisher this week, he seems like his squad was in the game. But if you saw pictures from ESPN, they look like the players weren't even involved with the game.
Yeah, and I think that's what you want if you're a Syracuse fan, is that you hope everything that's coming out of there is, no, we didn't give up, no, we didn't quit, and they don't have a players-only meeting or a kumbaya moment or something where they all of a sudden buy back in. Because regardless of whether you've got backups and injuries, etc., you've got a bunch of 4- and 5-star talented athletes on Florida State. And if they decide that for one game they're going to step up because they're prideful and they're sick of the way that they've been losing and embarrassed by what they put out on the field against Boston College, and now all of a sudden all of those talented 4- and 5-star recruits decide, at least for this game, even if it doesn't correlate to the rest of the year, that they're going to focus and buy in and play good football. That makes the game obviously much more difficult for Syracuse. But if they continue to have mental breakdowns, guys that aren't playing together, questioning leadership, questioning the coaching staff, all of those things play significantly in Syracuse's favor. If you get the same type of attitude and the same type of intensity from Florida State on Saturday as they did last Friday against Boston College, I think you're going to see a similar result.
Well, the last time the Orangemen beat Florida State, you have to go back to your parents' year, 1966. So it's been a very long time they beat Florida State. That's pretty. That's a long time.
Yeah, it was 17 years prior to me being born. That tells you how long ago that was. I've never seen a Syracuse team beat a Florida State team, and that's it's quite a statement. That's a testament to not only the fact that those two teams didn't play each other a lot, over the course of decades, just recently getting in the same conference, but also tells you how good Florida State has been over the last 40, 50 years. They're so consistently an elite program that have top 25 teams, top 10 teams, so consistently with big-time talent. It's seemingly all over the field, NFL-caliber players, and to see them playing like they are now, if you're Syracuse and you're ever going to get off that schneid, I think that this is the perfect opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and like you said about Florida State, they haven't had a losing season since 1976, so that's a very long time. 74, they haven't won a game at home since 1974, so it's been a very long time for folks down there in Tallahassee seeing a losing team.
Absolutely, and again, that speaks to how good that program has been for such a long period of time, and there's still talent on that team. So they could absolutely come out and decide, at least for that team, they're going to come out and play really good football and beat Syracuse. There's no question about that. But right now, the way that both teams are playing, Syracuse is clearly the team that's more together and more in sync with their game plan and more in sync with everyone being together in the locker room. And I think Florida State's going to be right back to where everyone expects them to be next year. I think the talk about Jimbo Fisher's job being on the line is very premature, even though this is a historically bad season. Let everyone come back, get everyone healthy, see how they are next year, and I think they'll bounce back and be a really good team again.
Well, I think, I agree with you, because you don't know if Francois actually did not get hurt in that first game against Alabama, this could be a whole different type of Florida State squad. But, you have Francois going down in the fourth quarter of the Alabama game. That completely changed the entire atmosphere for Florida State, because now you have a freshman quarterback backing him up, and he's still learning the football. And this time last year, he was in high school.
Yeah, it's tough to play a true freshman quarterback at the major college level. And you think about that first game, and I know Alabama won and won by multiple scores, but that was a game that was very close, and the outcome was in doubt throughout much of that game. So Florida State was right there competing with the team that now many people think is the best in the country. Them or Georgia, I think, are the two in discussion for that. So, again, this is a team that's talented, and it's got talent, but when you have a lot of injuries and then things start going south, you're really testing the mental fortitude of a lot of players there, and, it doesn't seem to be going well because of those injuries and because they're being challenged in ways that they didn't think that they would be challenged when they went to a place like Florida State. So it'll be interesting to see if they respond going forward with let's play the best football we can for the rest of the season and try to salvage at least a bowl game, or whether they completely fold and it just continues to get worse.
Yeah, that's true. Any injuries that Syracuse is going to? I know in the Miami game, your talented wide receiver Steve Ishmael was injured in one part of the game. Is he okay? Ready for this game on Saturday?
Yeah, he should be okay. We know that Antoine Cordy and Jordan Martin, two of their safeties, are out for the season. Cordy is someone that we knew had been out. Jordan Martin had been taking his place and playing pretty good football, but he's out for the year, so they're a little bit banged up in the secondary. But other than that, for the most part, they should be good to go.
Well, Mike, I appreciate you joining me tonight. I appreciate you're on Wednesday, and good luck. Are you traveling down to Tallahassee this weekend?
No, I'll be watching from the comfort of my living room this week.
It's always good. It's on ESPN3 or whatever the app is. That's the greatest thing in the world.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, good luck to enjoy the game this weekend, and I hope to talk to you a little more down the road. Hopefully, we'll talk more, Syracuse football if they get bowl eligible. That'll be great.
All right, I appreciate it.
All right. Folks, that's Michael McAllister from Cuse Nation. We'll be right back here on Herb FM Sports Radio. All right, folks, we got some time here. We're going to play some interviews from our very own Steve Zulich, who had a chance to go to the Delaware-Towson game last week. Towson beating Delaware by a single point in their homecoming game. So we'll get to some of Steve Zulich's teleconference call, some interviews he did after the Delaware and Towson. So here is Coach Danny Rocco after the loss.
They never really gave us the opportunity to extend our lead, get away from them. So, and then they finished the game well here today. So I'm very disappointed in the result. I thought defensively we did enough good things here today to win a football game. We held their point production down. They had one touchdown where they off a scramble extended a play and made a really nice throw and got away from us to get a score. Then obviously the last throw there on the fade for a touchdown. Offensively, we did not take advantage of our opportunities. I think we had 3 takeaways that didn't lead to a lot of points. I know when we recovered the punt on the fumble, we needed to turn that into a touchdown, and we just did not respond appropriately. But even there at the end, I really felt that we'd have a shot to kick a field goal, and I think we put ourselves in position here to make one more throw, and we could have got our kicker out on the field with the timeout left to make a kick. I said in the locker room after the game that obviously it's very disappointing. I think that if you're going to blame anybody, then you got to look at yourself first. They got to look at the man in the mirror. It's going to start with me. I always look at myself first anytime that we suffer a defeat. I don't want any finger pointing. I don't want anybody blaming anybody else in the organization. We need to stay united. We need to stay together. My rhetoric hasn't changed. We need 8 football games to advance into the postseason. We're sitting here tonight with 5. I'll take questions from the media.
All right, folks. Now we're going to have some interviews from the Delaware player Lane and Caruso, the quarterback, right after the loss to Towson.
You also had your second consecutive back-to-back 100-yard game this week. So how does that make you feel? going to be as physical as you thought when you came in?
Yeah, we know these guys are physical from the start, and just playing a little bit better than Coach talked about that first drive of the second half. You guys kind of get the message at halftime, and like the way you responded there. Yeah, we came out strong second half, first drive, and after that it kind of fell off. Trying to get back in the groove, but excited about practice this week, get better. JP, any idea why it's tough to sustain the offense today? There's a couple drives that look pretty good, and then other times, you couldn't get points out of it.
Yeah, I mean, we just gotta play better and smarter as a whole, and it does start with me. Like I said before, there's a bunch of yards out there, and a lot of grass that we could have got if I played better. And we're gonna stick as a team. We're gonna come back, start tomorrow and Tuesday, and get better. We're not gonna let this hold us back. We're not out of it. We need 3 wins, and I just got a little bit harder, but we're not out of it. We're gonna stick as a team, and as an offense, it's on me to get the ball a little bit more.
JP, did you feel like the offense was ready to play today?
Yes, sir. I feel like the offense is ready to play every day. I want to be part of any other offense except for ours. I got guys on our team. I believe in them so much, and I know they believe in me. And it's our fault that we didn't get many points as we needed to. Defense played well, and I believe that we can go out there any day and score as many points as we need, and we just did it today.
Were they doing anything on defense that you were not expecting that made it more difficult to pass? I mean, you ran the ball well.
Yeah, they were doing exactly what we were expecting, but I just didn't make more plays.
When you only came away with that field goal after the fumble punt, did you kind of regret that a little bit just as a team? That might set these people up,
Yeah, I mean, there's no excuses for not putting up points right there. That fumble was a gimme, and that was big. Man, we could have ended it right there if we just got it in the end zone, but we weren't perfect as an offense on that last drive, including myself on the second play. That was my MA, and why didn't I score? I give it a good name. I feel like we would have got some yards and at least got close to that zone, but that was very big. Reason why we didn't win, but defense deserves for the offense to put up more points than we did today. They played really well.
All right, folks, that was our very own Steve Zulich with the interviews from the Towson Delaware game from last week. So when we get back here, folks, if you're just logging into us, thank you for tuning us in tonight here on College Football Tonight here on Herb FM Sports Radio on Speaker.com. If you're listening to us in Boston, Massachusetts, or you're listening to us in New Hampshire, up there in beautiful Durham, New Hampshire, or down in the capital city of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. And also, if you're listening to us in Raleigh, North Carolina, for the folks at NC State, and also the folks in Clemson getting ready for that big game this week. We are going to preview the Clemson and NC State game this week here on the show. Last week, we do apologize if you guys, we were down in McCaskiesville, Virginia, and we had some issues with our technology down there because when you're in the mountains, things happen. So we're back here in the studios, the friendly confines of the Herb FM studios here in the beautiful living room of my parents' house. That's friendly confine. So when we come back at 7:05, we'll have Pete Cronan, the voice analyst for the Boston College football. We'll talk to him. We were supposed to talk to him last week before the Florida State BC game, and we'll talk to him this week of how they're riding high on their bye week after completely dismantling the Florida State Seminoles last week up there in Chestnut Hill because it's the bandana game last week on that last Friday. So hopefully you folks could enjoy that as well. Plus, throughout the show, we'll have one more interview with Towson head coach Rob Ambrose from last week's game against Delaware. His excitement after beating their rival on homecoming. Coming up at 7:20, we'll have Sean McDonnell, the head coach of the New Hampshire Wildcats. We'll talk to him. Last week they lost to the number one team in the country, 21-0 down there in Harrisonburg. So we're going to see how they're going to rebound this week against a tough William & Mary squad who was basically limping into the game with a record of 2-6, 0-5 in the CAA. But they always play, the Wildcats tough, no matter what, if it's in Williamsburg or in Durham, North Carolina. And then we'll have Bob Black at 7:30 to talk to us about the Richmond Spiders playing the Villanova Wildcats this week up in Pittsburgh, up in the Philadelphia metro area. So and Jerry Ratcliffe will be at 7:45 for the Daily Progress to talk about the Virginia Cavaliers taking on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. So that's the basically the first hour. So we'll take a little break here and we'll get our friend Pete Cronan on the phone with us to talk about BC football. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the College Football Tonight. It's 7:03 here on Herb FM Sports Radio. And we have Pete Cronan with us, the voice of the Boston College football. They have a bye week this week, but last week they really beat Florida State pretty handily up there at Chestnut Hill, 35-3. So Pete, thanks for joining us. Just talk about that big game. It was the bandana game. Explain to folks about that whole game last week because a lot of people did not understand that.
The bandana game is actually it's a memorial to a Boston College athlete who was actually was in 9/11 and saved 10 people's lives.
Okay.
He was a former Boston College lacrosse player, was working in the building, and he basically was in the building, got out of the building, went back into the building. And through research, they've determined, following up with people, that he saved these people's lives. And the way they knew it was him is he had a bandana in his back pocket, which was a gift given to him by his dad when he was a young man. And so they put two and two together and found out this guy had tragically passed away, but he had done some great things before doing so.
Well, the bye week this week, I know you guys are probably sitting around the TV this week to watch NC State play Clemson. So, what are you going to do during the bye week for you?
I'm probably gonna mow my lawn and rake leaves up here in New England. It's that time of year, but no, I'm
to keep one eye on the NC State Clemson game. That's a big one. That's a battle for first place in the division. And I know BC fans are rooting for Clemson, and I'd love to see NC State take 2 losses in a row and have to travel up to New England, the walking wounded. And so I think there's a lot of people around this part of the world are going to be looking and thinking the same thing for that game Saturday.
Yeah, you guys are riding a 3-game winning streak, and you probably wish you didn't have a bye week this week to keep everything rolling, right?
Well, it's kind of good news, bad news. The bad news is lots of momentum. Steve Adagio talked about it, but they've been really struggling. This part of this season coming out of the box, they really played the iron of the division. The iron of the conference and the division when you consider that they had Clemson, Louisville, crossover opponent, Virginia Tech, and Notre Dame in the first half of the season. Louisville has turned out to be, maybe a bit of a paper tiger, but Clemson and Notre Dame and Virginia Tech, they are certainly the iron, and compounded by a series of injuries in a program that doesn't have great depth. So you lose your center, who's a senior captain. You lose your best wide receiver. You lose 2 linebackers. The hits just kept on coming, and you're forced to go to the bench early and force players into action. Really, when a little maybe prematurely. Well, they're at the point in the season now where the necessity of some other invention. They've done now. They've created some depth in these positions. A couple of these guys have come back, and they're beginning to hit stride. So they're healthy, still thin, healthy though, and playing opponents that don't match up, in terms of power with those opponents they faced in the first half, in particular, Notre Dame and Clemson and Virginia Tech. So they're hitting stride. Quarterback position is really starting to show great promise. They've begun the coaches have got a lot more confidence running a more wide open offense, forcing teams to play sideline to sideline, because everybody knows BC loves to pound the ball between the tackles, but through 5 years of what they consider good recruiting, they really improved team speed, which allows them to put stress on the perimeter. And if they can put stress on the perimeter and get yards, teams have to respect that. And they can't jam 8 in the box, and if they can't jam 8 in the box, BC can be effective running inside.
Well, it seems like you guys are on like a 2-week bye week, because you played last Friday, you don't play this week, and you play next Saturday. So basically, it feels like it's in like a mini 2-week vacation.
Well, I'm sure they're not sitting in lounge chairs drinking umbrella drinks over in Chestnut Hill. The timing actually was they would have liked it earlier, but it is what it is, and they had an opportunity to come off 3 weeks where they had tremendous success. The program really seems to has turned directionally correct, and the opportunity to celebrate the group win against Florida State on a national TV game got a lot of attention, really helped with recruiting, I'm sure, and then the chance to celebrate, regroup, and focus on the next opponent. And again, watch North Carolina State have to deal with Notre Dame and Clemson in back-to-back weeks, and then look forward to gearing up for these guys next week. And you haven't seen there's a 6-day kickoff notice that the ACC has imposed, so we don't even know if it's going to be an afternoon or an evening game. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but regardless, I think the place will be rocking.
Do you like that, having the ACC have like a 6-day hold on things? I think they should have tell people what time it is.
No. It's hard to plan.
Yeah.
The attendance issues, the interest levels in a place like Boston are, because there are so many distractions. When you think of all the pro sports that currently are you got football is in full go with the Patriots, basketball is full go with the Celtics, Bruins with hockey so there's a lot of options out there. So with not knowing when kickoff is going to be, it's really hard for people to plan. If they want to go to the game, it's easy for them to conflict out. So I think it's a bit of a disadvantage not knowing what time the game is.
Yeah. let's talk about when you saw Florida State last week. Did you see what I saw on TV? A team that's completely the lack of leadership and like their heads are down and all that stuff, or it's just our imagination that ESPN put on TV?
No, I think they're struggling, and it's they're lost a quarterback, had great expectations, and when you lose a quarterback, regardless of the level, it's certainly in a program like Florida State, that's a huge position. And with the high expectations that were set forth at the beginning of the season, and then for it all to kind of be tied into losing one play, you don't like to see that happen, but it's understandable. It tends to compound. When things go really good, teams tend to play really good. It's a momentum thing going. Same thing with negative momentum. The negative energy can really work through teams, and unless you've got extremely strong leadership that can keep people focused, it's very easy for people to kind of to lose discipline, to take the easy way, to not work quite as hard, to not study quite as hard, and that all shows up on Saturday. And so I think they're struggling. Doesn't mean they're not working hard. They're not trying. Doesn't mean they're not trying. It's just this is a challenging situation that they're in that they're not used to being in. So they got to learn an awful lot about each other. I was in business for many years, and I always said you learn more about people when things don't go well than compared to when they do. So they're going to learn an awful lot about each other and what they're made of fighting through this tough period.
Yeah. Well, Pete, I'll let you go. I know you have a lot of stuff to do tonight. I appreciate you taking some time out with us tonight and talk about Boston College football, and I hope that we talk more down the road the rest of the season. You got 4 more weeks of football left.
Yep, it came and went very fast, didn't it?
Exactly. So
listen, thanks for talking tonight, and I look forward to talking down the road.
All right. Good luck. Thank you so much. All right, bye. Folks, that was Pete Cronan, who the voice of BC football, and we're going to get our last interview in from our good old pal Steve Zulich, who did a fantastic job last week at Towson and Delaware. So here is Coach Rob Ambrose talking about the win over Delaware. We're going to take a break here. When we get back, we'll have Coach Sean McDonnell, the head coach of the New Hampshire Wildcats, with us here on the show. So we'll be right back. Welcome back here to the college football tonight. We're still trying to track down Coach Sean McDonnell. Let's look at the games that we're supposed to be talking about tonight. James Madison will be playing Rhode Island. We were supposed to have Coach Fleming on, but we're waiting for him to call back too. Albany will be in Stony Brook at 1 o'clock on Saturday. Towson will be on the road taking on a tough Elon squad at 2 o'clock. Richmond and Villanova at 1 o'clock up in Philadelphia. New Hampshire, where we're trying to get a hold of Coach McDonnell, will be taking on William & Mary, who is 2-6 on the season, 0-5 in the CAA, and Delaware versus Maine on the last game of the CAA. It's at 2 o'clock on Saturday. And then next week, we're back to full strength schedule here. Villanova next Saturday will take on Rhode Island. Elon will be taking on New Hampshire. Albany will be taking on Delaware at 3:30. Maine will be taking on UMass. That's going to be at Fenway Park in Boston. Wagner versus Stony Brook. Towson versus William & Mary at 2 o'clock. And Richmond versus JMU in Harrisonburg, Virginia at 3:30. So we're trying to track people down here. We do apologize for last week's technical difficulties in the down there in the mountains of Virginia. So we hoping you folks are still out there. If you want to listen to us or you want to text us, you can text us anytime at 443-567-0746. And that would be great. If you have any questions about the ACC or the CAA, that would be great as well. We'll answer your questions here live on the show. So, well, we're gonna let you play some. We're gonna play some music here, just to get yourself ready. We'll wait for Coach Sean McDonnell. If he's out there, he'll hopefully give us a buzz here, and we'll talk to him about this week's game against William & Mary. But right now, you can listen to a brand new song. This is from my brother, Will Heidel. So I hope you enjoy it. It's called "Falling Apart."
For the things that could have been.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the College Football Tonight here on Herb FM Sports Radio on Speaker.com. We got Bob Black on the phone. We were trying to get him last week, but we ran into some technical difficulties in the mountains, so we have him here this evening. So, Bob, thanks for joining us. Last time I saw you, it was that double overtime loss to Delaware, and you guys last week played a Stony Brook squad, and it's not fun times down there in Richmond.
Yeah, it's been a little bit difficult the last couple of weeks. I think the Delaware game took a lot out of them. I don't know if they would admit it or not, and maybe it took a lot out of both teams. I mean, look what happened to Delaware last week. Kind of a stunning loss to Towson on the heels of the win over Richmond, and then the Spiders just were never able to catch Stony Brook last week. It was a close competitive game, but they were never able to get the lead and get an advantage. And who knows, maybe a lot was taken out of the Delaware game. Don't really know. It's just a theory. I don't know that you can prove it. But that was a tough loss, the Delaware game, to come back at the end of regulation, block the field goal that sent the game into overtime. You think Richmond's got the momentum. They score a touchdown on their first possession in OT. You think they've got the momentum, and then Delaware scored to tie it and then won it in the second overtime. And I don't know if our guys would admit it or our coaches, but maybe there was a little hangover effect to the Stony Brook game. Not that Stony Brook's not a quality team. They are. They've now beaten Richmond the past 2 years. So they certainly have that going for them. But I think I've got a sneaking suspicion that Delaware game took a lot out of both the Spiders and the Blue Hens and what happened to them last week.
Well, this week you go up to Philadelphia to play Villanova, and they have two quarterbacks you don't know yet who's playing. So how does Richmond, plan for two quarterbacks?
Yeah, I think that's difficult, and they talked about that at their midweek press conference, that they're, watching tape on the guys that they think are going to play and when they're going to play and how they're going to play, but there is a great unknown to that. And, for a defense that's kind of struggled this year, that's probably not the best position they want to be in. They would like to have as much information and ammunition as they possibly could on what the other guys are going to do, and I just don't think they have that this week.
Now, just talk about, Richmond's on the road again. It seems like every week you guys are on the road a lot this year. So
it's funny you say that because the 2018 schedule came out Wednesday, and Russ Huseman, the Spiders coach, was asked about it, and the first thing that he pointed to was that we've got 6 home games next year instead of just 5. So you know how valuable that is, how much he values the extra home game, and perhaps, to your point, how much it's taken its toll this year. And it really started that way, Chris, back with the Sam Houston State game that, as you recall, was changed in time and location and date because of the hurricane down in Texas. Wound up playing that game at Baylor. It was a difficult trip. There were travel issues, all of that would go into a postponed game. Nobody's fault, certainly. The hurricane, certainly the fault, if anything. And then to go on the road the next week up to upstate New York, to Colgate, which was a smooth trip, but still a pretty tough trip. So it does feel like they've had their bags packed a lot this year. And obviously the next 2 weeks they're on the road at Villanova this Saturday and at James Madison, a shorter trip, but a much more daunting opponent next week. So it has been a difficult grind for this team. And it's obviously accentuated more when you're not winning the way this team is used to having won in the past several years.
Is it good to get the schedule out now instead of waiting until next, let's say February or June?
Well, that's an interesting question. And normally I think I would say it's just as well to wait until after the season. But I felt like there was an energy boost today when that schedule came out. And maybe it's because the Spiders have lost back-to-back games and they needed something to grab onto. And I'm not even saying it was the players. It just seemed like people in the building were looking at it. We're kind of excited about it. In our case, and I don't know if the CAA ever does anything about this because you don't know who's going to be good necessarily each year, although I think you got a pretty good idea.
Right.
Richmond's in one of those weird situations where every other year it's a really good home schedule, and every other year it's not the most, exciting home schedule, and that happened to be this year. So next year, the Spiders have JMU at home.
Right.
The Spiders have Delaware at home. The Spiders have Villanova at home. That's a pretty exciting home schedule for Richmond amongst their 6 home games next year. So I think there's an excitement level already about that next year. And maybe it inadvertently gave them a little bit of a boost this week going back on the road to be able to talk in those terms. I don't know. I'm grasping at straws a little bit, but I will tell you when that announcement came out today, there was a little bit of a sense of excitement about what they saw, particularly from the home schedule for next year.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide what game to go to on September 1st of next year. Like you got you guys playing Virginia, you got JMU playing NC State, then you got I think other teams are playing other ones. I think and Albany's playing Pittsburgh, so it's basically a lot of ACC CAA action in the first week.
And William and Mary's got Virginia Tech.
Right.
So there are a lot, and that's a great point. That was the other thing we talked about is that. For the first time in quite a while, Richmond did not have an FBS opponent this year. Not their fault. Boston College was on the schedule. They elected to back out of that game, and Richmond got Sam Houston State, a very quality opponent, and was a high-level FCS game. But Coach Huseman talked about that as well. His guys and most teams at the FCS level, they love playing that game. It doesn't affect the conference standings. Mm-hmm. It probably doesn't even affect whether they make the playoffs as an at-large or not, although it can't hurt if you win that game, which Richmond did a year ago. So I think there was an excitement level today about seeing Virginia at the top of that schedule again. And I think there was even an excitement level that in the press release, they were able to say, and the last time Richmond played Virginia, Richmond beat Virginia. So I think there was an excitement level about that. So to answer your original question, which is really intriguing, I think announcing the schedule today for Richmond actually provided kind of an impetus, a little bit of a springboard. I don't know if it'll mean anything on the field Saturday, probably not. But I can tell you in the building today that there was a little bit of excitement about what they were talking about.
Yeah, and I got a question for you. A lot of like different states, like Florida State, Florida, and Miami, they play for the Florida Cup, whatever. Does the Commonwealth of Virginia have some kind of cup or anything, or just like a handshake or something, or what?
No, there are actually two. To be honest with you, the Virginia Tech game is the Commonwealth Cup, and then the Richmond William and Mary game is the Capital Cup, because Williamsburg was the capital of Virginia before Richmond was the capital of Virginia. Richmond is now the capital of Virginia. So the Spiders and Tribe play for the Capital Cup. The Hokies and Cavaliers play for the Commonwealth Cup.
And for JMU, it's just basically a rivalry game.
Well, JMU plays for the National Championship trophy. Don't let my Richmond people hear me say that, but obviously they did a year ago, and they're in great position to repeat this year.
I know next week you're playing them, but this week you got Villanova. What do you think the three keys for Richmond to pull out a Rhode win?
Well, number one, it's an elimination game. Both teams are 4-4 and 2-3 in the CAA. Both were preseason favorites, along with JMU and New Hampshire, and both have had relatively disappointing runs here to where they're 4-4 and 2-3 in the league. One of these teams is eliminated Saturday, and the other, even if it wins out, will have a very sleepless Saturday night before the selection show, but they'd like to at least be in that position. 7-4 in the CAA probably gets you in, pending on what else happens across the country. So that makes this an elimination game. So that's step one, is the sense of urgency with which they have to play. Number two, I would say they have to get the lead. They have not, and something they talked about this week, they haven't been playing with the lead very much. They've been playing a lot of catch-up football, putting a lot of pressure on Kyle Laletta to just, hey, he's a great quarterback. He's having a record-shattering year. He's going to bring us back at some point in the game. And sooner or later, that's not going to happen. The other team's just going to keep scoring points. They're going to stop them once. So I'd like to see Richmond play with the lead as early as possible. And then number three, they got to stop the running game. Yeah. And they have not done that consistently pretty much all year. Certainly against Delaware, the Blue Hens torched them for 260 or 270 yards on the ground. They were better against Stony Brook, but still couldn't get off the field when they needed to. So that would be my third key to the game this weekend. But I do think the fact that it's an elimination game and the sense of urgency at the outset is critical for both of these teams.
Yeah. Well, Bob, I thank you so much. I know you were dying to come on the show last week, but when we were in the hills and valleys of the Shenandoah Valley and me yelling at my phone with every word in the book, yeah. So I'm so glad.
Somehow I find that better than having to make the trip up I-95, which will result in a traffic jam at some point, either going up there or coming back.
Exactly. I think 95 going north around Alexandria and all that stuff, it's a pain in the butt.
It's no fun. No fun.
Well, safe travels, and I hope to see you. I might be up there this weekend. I got to see what's going on with my schedule here, but I'll keep you posted on that.
Look forward to it. I'd love to see you.
All right. That's Bob Black, the voice of the Richmond football. We'll be right back here on Herb FM Sports Radio. College football tonight. We're just going to give you an update here on the show. If you just logged into us and you're listening to us down there in Charlottesville, Virginia, we got Jerry Ratcliffe coming on at the Daily Progress in a couple minutes, and then at 8 o'clock, Matt Trecanelli, one of the finest voices here on Herb FM Sports Radio, his college football knowledge. We're going to talk to you about his big night last night of being on the college football playoff. That's going to be an interesting conversation with him as well. And he's an Irish fan as well, so we're not going to, crucify him. And at 8:10, we'll have we'll have the pre-tape interview we did this afternoon, myself with Wolfpack defensive end Deontay Holden, who is from Landover, Maryland, folks. So if you're a Maryland resident and if you want to watch that NC State Clemson game, that is on Saturday afternoon at 3:30, and then stick around. Then you got the Miami versus Virginia Tech winner-take-all coastal division championship game. If the winner of that game will go to Charlotte. And here in this household and Herb FM Radio, we do love the Miami Hurricanes. So and Florida State and Notre Dame. So but we don't like the Gators. We don't need any text messages from all the Gator fans out there, because I know that you're going through a lot of problems right now with no coach. But I do need to couldn't ask Jimbo Fisher today, but I would like to ask him next Monday about Randy Shannon being the interim head coach. Let's look at the ACC standings. You got NC State on top of Clemson in the ACC. They are 6-2, but they're 4-0 in the Atlantic Division. Clemson is 5-1. Boston College is 3-3. Syracuse is 2-2. Wake Forest is 2-3, and Louisville and Florida State. Who could thunk it that Louisville and Florida State were at the bottom of the Atlantic Division? Over the Coastal Division, you got the Hurricanes at 5-0. Then you got Virginia Tech, who is 3-1. Georgia Tech 3-2. Virginia, who we're going to talk to Jerry Ratcliffe real quick. They're 2-2. They got a chance to be bowl eligible this week. They play against Georgia Tech. Pittsburgh, who is off this week, they play North Carolina next week. North Carolina 0-6 in the conference, and Duke is 1-5 and 4-5 overall. So Duke is fading. So we're going to take a little break right now. When we come back, we will get Jerry Ratcliffe on to talk about Virginia Cavaliers taking on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. So we'll be right back here on Herb FM Sports Radio on Speaker.com.
Times are tough in rock and roll. Beer can't be bought, wine can't be sold. 1,000 lies are getting told. Times are tough in rock and roll. I keep on walking my country mile. I got my head up all the while. Some would like to cramp my style. I keep on walking my country mile. Reason is to feel this way.
everybody. Welcome back to the College Football Tonight here on Herb FM Sports Radio. And we have Jerry Ratcliffe of the Daily Progress on the phone with us, who covers the Virginia Cavaliers. And this week they're home against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, big Coastal Division game. So, Jerry, thanks for joining us. I hope you are getting set to watch a lot of option this weekend.
Growing up in the days where they ran the ball a lot more than they really. I'm kind of a lover of option football, so it's kind of a fun week for me. But it should be a pretty interesting game. Georgia Tech, when they ruined Virginia's perfect season back in 1990 when the Cavaliers were number one, Georgia Tech came in and won a dramatic 41-38 game at the buzzer, and ever since then, Georgia Tech has only won twice since then, and that was, I think, both times during the Mike London era. And so they struggled to win up here, but I know that Georgia Tech is definitely going to be a favorite because Virginia has kind of slipped up the past couple of weeks. Could be a pretty good game.
Yeah, I was talking to Bronco this morning on the teleconference call, and I asked him about playing against a triple option team. Will that affect the team for next week when they go back to playing a Louisville squad that does not run the option? And he said pretty much it takes a couple days to get everybody back to what the system is.
Yeah, it's definitely a different week of preparation because Virginia, I know, only sees the option this one time each year. So it definitely takes a lot of extra preparation time. I think they even do some preparation in the summer before the season starts because they know they don't have enough time once the season and game week gets here to completely delve into it. But Bronco is a guy who relishes coaching against the option, being a defensive-minded coach as he is. I guess back in his days, formative days in coaching before he got to BYU and even sometime at BYU, he coached against a lot of option teams and was pretty successful at it. And it's funny listening to Michael Kaiser and some of the other guys talk about how they see Bronco's eyes kind of sparkle each year when Georgia Tech comes up because he digs out all these old films and stuff of wishbone teams and option teams, and they call it. They say they're just kind of old black and white grayish films that not even in color. So I think it's something that Bronco really likes to challenge in.
Yeah, so I guess he brings back the old footage. So I guess that whole film study on Sunday or Monday would be like, they have the popcorn ready for the old footage.
Exactly.
That would be great. I would love to be there for that. Watch the old footage and say, this is how the option is. So
that would be fun. He's. I think when he was I do know that when he was at BYU, he beat Georgia Tech and Paul Johnson 2 years in a row. So, and then Georgia Tech got him back last year. So I'm sure it's something he's looking forward to.
Well, is this the week that Virginia gets that 6th win that they've been dying for a while and they get back to a bowl game?
I don't know. It's going to be tough because, like I said, it's a whole new ball game when you're playing the option. And Virginia hasn't played well the past couple of weeks. I thought last week they should have taken care of business because the week before when they lost to Boston College, I think Boston College was a much underrated team than what they really are. And they've gone on to prove that a little bit. But I didn't think Pitt was that good, and I thought Virginia should have won up at Pittsburgh. It was a game where there was really no home field advantage because I don't know if it was the weather or just a lack of interest, but there was not many people at Heinz Field for that game, and Virginia had opportunities. They were in Georgia Tech, inside the Georgia Tech 40, I think, 6 times and got no points out of it. So they shot themselves in the foot a lot, didn't play that well, and it's a kind of a disturbing trend. So they're going to really have their work cut out come Saturday to try to knock off Georgia Tech because, as you know, if Tech can get that running game going, you have limited possessions during the game, and you have to be able to take advantage and score a lot of points in much fewer possessions. And the way Virginia's offense has not been clicking, it's going to be a real tough task.
Exactly. With that opening kick, that kickoff return that Pitt had, I guess that really turned the entire game around, because if they didn't have that was a heck of a run by that guy taking it back.
Yeah, Quandary Anderson, I think that was his seventh return for a touchdown, and the guy's really good. You really can't give him that much freedom on a return. Either you kick it away from him, or you better have him bottled up early in the run, because if he gets a little out into open space, he's going to be tough to bring down. And you're right, that completely changed the complexion of the game, and Virginia just could never get itself together after that.
Yeah. Well, Jerry, it sounds like it's going to be an interesting game, and hopefully the weather's good down there in Charlottesville this weekend.
Yeah, the early reports they were calling for rain, but it looks like now it's just going to be cloudy and fairly warm, so it should be a good autumn day for football.
Yeah. Well, folks, that's Jerry Ratcliffe from the Daily Progress. Jerry, thank you for joining us, and I hope to talk to you more throughout the last month of football here in the ACC.
Anytime, Chris. It should be a fun final month.
Yes, it will be. We'll be right back here on Herb FM. Thanks, Jerry. I appreciate it.
All right, Chris. Thank you. Take
All
care,
right.
buddy.
Talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Why in this world is this thing not working? I'm just going to close this fucking program. Jesus